Hello, it's Omaji, and I'm very excited to be here to announce a new series and to share a little bit about what it is intended to support and also communicate the special rate that's being offered due to the tremendous amount of shifting that's going on the planet at this time. It's really intended to support everyone who's willing to attune to the frequencies, the resonances of unity consciousness, of fifth dimensional Gaia, in order to usher in the manifestation of that experience, first and foremost for you. And then the side effect is that it supports humanity in doing the same. So one of the pieces that is stepping forward initially is this idea that, and the remembering really, that 5D, fifth dimensional Gaia, already exists. We're not creating that dimension. That dimension already is. And it's very similar to what Jesus meant when he said, heaven is all around you and you just don't see it. So what if this fifth dimensional Gaia experience, this unity consciousness experience, this heaven on earth experience beyond duality, can be attuned to vibrationally? And in order to maintain the resonance of 5D, it requires us to be willing to let go of certain perceptions that we held very dear in 3D. And 3D consciousness is not wrong or bad. 3D as a frequency is not wrong or bad. There is learning that takes place there. It is all part of the whole. And so a piece of this will be to be willing to let go of any resistance we have to the duality, to the separation consciousness experience. Because you can't get to oneness through separation. You can't get to oneness by excluding pieces of the whole. So in the big picture, as we zoom out, third dimensional learning is as valuable as fifth dimensional experience and learning. Third dimensional learning is a step into the readiness, the preparation for fifth dimensional experience, just as elementary school is a prerequisite for high school. It's very similar. And so when we speak in terms of dimensions, we speak in terms of vibration, resonance, frequency. So fifth dimensional Gaia already is. She's thriving. Gaia does not need your help to get there. She actually knows exactly how to get there for herself. So as we remember the energetic framework of what sovereignty really is, recognizing that we can choose for us. I can choose for me. You can choose for you. That's the divine design. And I can't choose for anybody else because we weren't created to choose for any other aspect of life other than this very aspect. This very aspect of life that you are is the aspect of life you're intended to choose in favor of, to expand, to grow, to evolve, to attune to a higher level of consciousness if you choose. And this happens organically outside of our conscious awareness as we evolve. It's just a bit slower of a process if you're not conscious of what's going on and consciously choosing in favor of your evolution. When you're awake enough and you've reached a certain place in your journey where you're ready to consciously evolve, consciously choose in favor of what is actually most honoring for this aspect of life that you're in charge of, you, because that's the divine design. You get to choose for you. And you get to remember that shared responsibility between you and your higher self in your evolution, and how you begin to partner with that aspect of you that already exists in a higher dimension to accelerate your remembering, your evolution, and your ascension into fifth dimensional frequencies and experiences. So whatever's chosen is just whatever's chosen. None of it's right, wrong, good, or bad. And when you attempt to be responsible for others and what they choose, and wanting others to also be awake or functioning from a more empowered place of choice that requires a certain level of consciousness, when you want for others, you actually energetically take responsibility for them. And energetically, unconsciously, it's as if you're attempting to choose for them. And as soon as you do that, you take yourselves out of the oneness-based framework that is intended for all beings to be responsible for their own choices. And energetically, you disempower them, and you take yourself out of that coherent oneness, fifth dimensional framework. And you're now choosing to plug into the separation consciousness matrix of 3D. There's nothing wrong with any of that. It will simply lower your frequency, drop your coherence of your fields, and keep you at that resonating with what has been in the past, historically, Gaia's environment that we've been bouncing around in and learning in. And now that Gaia is basically merging with a higher aspect of herself in 5D, and she's doing a very good job, and she doesn't need our help. But the interesting place here is when we recognize that Gaia is fully empowered in her evolution, and she has an infinite source supporting her. And our job is to simply choose, if we choose, for ourselves to ascend and to evolve in an empowered way into this fifth dimensional unity consciousness framework and perceptions of how to function with others, how to function in relationship to the whole. Then the side effect of that is, energetically, we support Gaia in her ascension because we're holding the frequencies that she's going to, that she's evolving into. We're doing it with her. When we're doing it with her, not only are we supporting her, but she's supporting us energetically. And if you think of it in terms of resonance, it's like when we're singing the song of next level ascension and Gaia singing the same song, there's a harmonic relationship generated from that, where energetically we're supporting her to lift herself, energetically she's supporting us to lift ourselves, which is why this is such an auspicious time to consciously choose to ascend and attune to 5D, if it resonates for you. And so when we kind of felt into what would be the most helpful for everyone, really, for the most souls, it was this series, That Step Forward, which is Attune to 5D, which is going to kind of backtrack a little bit in terms of a review of what's going on, what are our tools, how do we really navigate this really auspicious next 2 to 3 months, which is a huge influx and wave of ascension energies that we can ride, that again energetically support us in choosing ascension and choosing to attune to these higher frequencies. And thus we become of service by being of service first and foremost to ourselves, because this is the aspect of life we were put in charge of. You're in charge of you, I'm in charge of me, and it's actually a very simple design that when we fall into that free will zone of allowing all life to choose for itself, and we can become the empowered chooser for our own ascension, our own attunement to whatever we choose, then we become an example demonstrating how to do it. We don't have to say a word to anybody else, but energetically, they're unconsciously picking up on what you're doing. And a part of them is going, oh, that's interesting. And possibly if they're ready, let me try that for myself in an energetic way to get into my own beam of light, my own lane, to stay in my own lane of ascension, of empowerment, and of choice in relationship to an infinite source, and let that infinite source fully support and provide every single step in my journey in an empowering and honoring way. That's the thriving that fifth dimensional consciousness lives at. That divine synchronicity and flow. And so if that feels like something you're inviting, we would encourage you to feel into this series. It is something that it is being offered to kind of provide this energetic support. There's 3 90-minute transmissions starting November 10th. And along with that are going to be tools and processes, energetic protocols that are brought in to really support you in sustaining and maintaining the energetic stance of sovereignty, free will, choice, allowing. Relaxation is a big piece of this, trusting your higher self, trusting source itself. Releasing attachment off of the outer, releasing attachment off of the history, what has been. So there's going to be some shifts in perception, and really kind of our trademark in everything that's offered is going to kind of be a holographic experience, a multidimensional experience where there'll be different pieces that when you go back and listen to the recordings, you'll get on a deeper level, or you'll maybe even hear for the first time because you're ready to hear it, because you're different, because once you listen once, you're different. When you listen again, you're different. So this offering is actually being presented at a deep discount because we really want to make it available to everyone, regardless of your financial experience right now, which for many of you who may be in a struggle with that, just recognize it's very temporary. There's a lot of change afoot, as they say, into increase. And as always with any choice, we invite you to feel into whether or not this series resonates for you, whether it feels like a bit of a lifeline possibly. And if it resonates for you, then feel into, if I choose it, will it create more for me? Is it an expansion? Does it represent an increase? Because if you expand more into you, you welcome more expansion reflecting in your world as greater, as more, as greater abundance, greater love, greater joy, greater empowerment, greater freedom, greater flow. And that's really metaphysically how it always works. And when we remember how to always choose in favor of the expansion, that's when life begins to really flow in an empowering and honoring way. So one of the pieces of this is remembering that the intellect is not our guide. The intellect is a tool and an aspect of our consciousness that can be utilized in various situations and circumstances in an empowering way to support the whole. But it's really time, and part of attuning to 5D is remembering that all of you that's actually involved. The intellect is one aspect. You have multi dimensions of you that see from higher perspectives. And what if it's time to remember how to begin to access that guidance so that it can lead you very gently, very gracefully out of struggle, out of lack, out of limitation, which is the trademark of 3D. So feel into it for you. We'd love to have you as part of our series. And it doesn't start till November 10th, but the early bird discount is a bit of a savings over what the regular rate will be. And so from now until the end of October, you can take advantage of the early bird discount. And we just invite you to feel into what resonates for you and choose from an empowered place in favor of more. So we'll put a link to register in the comments of this video. You can also go to our website at embracingtheinfinite.com and look for Attune to 5D. And again, it's a 3-session series. They will be 90-minute transmissions offered from November 10th through November 17th. And as we approach the winter solstice, which is a very auspicious turning point in the welcoming of the golden age, you're encouraged to invite what resonates for you to support you in attuning to that highest trajectory and timeline available to you for your own ascension. Because every single being on the planet is at a choice point right now to evolve or to repeat. And so that's simply for awareness. It's not meant to scare anyone. It's just, am I ready? Am I ready for that next level? Am I ready to graduate into fifth dimensional consciousness? And is this offering a tool and an energetic support portal that can really help me and assist me in a grace and ease-filled way to choose to graduate at this time? Because it's available and because there's so much here to support it energetically. And deep breath in. So I wonder what it would take for you to choose in favor of your evolution in a grace and ease-filled way, in however that presents itself for you, in divine perfect timing and in divine right order. And whatever doesn't allow that, will you release and uncreate it? Deep breath in. And whatever it is you value during this threshold, you're encouraged to invite your higher self to activate more of it within you. So if you value freedom, if you value joy, if you value abundance, if you value beauty, if you value peace or prosperity or harmony or joy or something that doesn't have words, maybe it's your own divine essence. Invite your higher self to activate more of it within you, just like you would turn up the volume to a higher decibel. You can turn up those frequencies that you have infinite access to at any time by making the request to your higher self. And deep breath in. And as you only want for you, as you begin to remember how to stay in your own lane and not get attached or responsible for others, your ascension gets to be much less struggle-based, much more grace and ease filled, and much more empowering. And as you practice being those frequencies, you get to remember more and more of yourself as that, because you're infinite. So there's no end to the amount of empowerment you can be. And this isn't about a power interpreted through the eyes of duality. It's not about right and wrong, good and bad. Power over, power under. That's not really power. That's the illusion of power that for many is completing itself. That learning of that distorted version of power is actually in the stages of completion for many right now, because the learning has taken place there. So if that is you, if you feel like, you know what, the power struggle thing, I'm kind of done with that, because I'm just ready to know who I am in relationship to source in a true, pure, perfect, love-filled, expansive way. If that's you, then invite your higher self to activate all the lessons, all the masteries of the lessons that you were learning in the dualistic versions of power, the struggle-based versions of power that require somebody to win, somebody to lose. Because the truth is, in fifth dimensional consciousness, everybody gets to win. Everybody gets to have. It's our birthright. It's how we were meant to exist. And it's just time to remember. Deep breath in. So whatever's not allowing that for you, will you release and uncreate it? Return to center with love and consciousness, what isn't yours. And if you're willing, you can vow to be in greater energetic integrity with the truth of you. To commit more to you as a being of light. To commit more to your remembering of you. And accessing all of your gifts and abilities that as you elevate to higher frequencies simply become the innate part of who you are again. They're remembered, they're activated. It's all the divine design. The divine isn't stupid. If we're vibrating at too low of a frequency, we're not going to be able to access certain capacities of ourselves because they can only function from love. They can only function from truth and equanimity and empowerment, true empowerment. I am an extension of the divine, and I have an infinite supply of everything I require within me. So we're going to bring in some energetic downloads to support you in remembering that you. And are you willing to let go of anything that's not allowing that, any perceptions or agreements that have you agreeing to less than that as your divine design? As we invite a balancing and a stabilizing and an updating of all your identity grids, your reference points, all your perceptions, all ways that you are perceived by others, so that you can begin to now reset into the choices you've just made within the last 20 minutes. That's how powerful you are. And it's time to remember that you have the authority to choose for you, to begin to attune and to rewire on an unconscious level all the agreements, all the choices into fifth dimensional consciousness so that it can become your experience. And may you continue to choose in favor of your light in an empowered way. Much love.